Never in human history have masks been so significant on the socio-political stage. They are, at time of recording, either an implement that reflects selflessness in spite of a minor discomfort, or gosh darn face prisons for folk sentenced to life as a sheep by the friggin' media. I'll let you decide which one that is. It's the first one. Steeped in extraordinary history in Mexico, the hood isn't quite as revered in North America, but it absolutely should be. To much consternation, WCW took a load of them off the luchadors in the late 1990s, in what was theoretically an attempt by the company to make more money. As was tradition in the latter days of that particular organisation, it achieved the opposite. Surprise, surprise. The first thing WWE decided, upon signing Rey Mysterio years later, was to get the mask straight back on. They monetised the fuck out of it. With the knowledge of this, unlike many others, they've never actually unmasked him. Or certainly not properly anyway, in spite of his face being plastered all over 2 years of WWE Network archives and various photos online. I'm Adam Nicholas and this is What Culture, and these are 10 wrestlers that stole other wrestlers' masks. Number 10, Seth Rollins, Rey Mysterio. As a most recent thief of joy from the life of Rey Mysterio, Seth Rollins went beyond the original pinching of his mask to try and rip out his actual goddamn eye. As stupid as this escalation of their rivalry was, WWE somehow got away with this bullshit in the end, thanks in part to Rey Mysterio's historic hood. He returned from holding his own actual pupil in his hand, good lord, what is this promotion, to training a pro wrestling pupil in the form of his son Dominic. In carefully constructed contests, the prodigal son has managed to extract several measures, shall we say, of revenge against Seth Rollins, including a particularly peculiar end to a Raw which saw Rey's wife Angie and daughter Aaliyah decide to kick the crap out of Seth's little protege Murphy. Because families that stick together, you see, like kendo stick, leave me alone, it's late, ultimately end up, well, sticking together. I guess that was the message WWE was trying to get across. Now, if only Rey Mysterio had had this kind of backup when a long-tenured rival used one of the biggest little man's greatest weapons against him. Number 9, Chris Jericho, Rey Mysterio. A fantastic match with an even better finish. Chris Jericho pulling off Rey Mysterio's mask at the climax of their Intercontinental Championship battle at Extreme Rules 2009 saw Y2J find one of the few remaining cheat codes that still worked against Mysterio. A bit of a lost classic actually, thanks to a rarely revisited time period. The Jericho-Mysterio feud offered up a couple of choice cuts that, altogether now, served to try and restore the prestige of the Intercontinental Championship. That belt has been abused beyond saving, but it didn't stop the pair giving it a good go, as if they might have been perfect Hart or Michaels nearly 2 decades earlier. Rarely had the multi-pay-per-view feud formula been so well received, particularly when Jericho exposed Mysterio's face mid-619 in an intricate spot they couldn't afford to get wrong. Mask and belt secured, moment made. If the whole feud was a celebration of the distilled art of simply excellent professional wrestling, this particular conclusion toasted the sports entertainment shithouse. And funnily enough, Jericho would end up taking his trick somewhere else too. Number 8, Chris Jericho, Penta L0M. Now this was explosively transcendently good. At 2018's All-In pay-per-view, a combination of the Chicago locale and a pronounced alternative to WWE rhetoric left fans sure that the stage was being set for the shocking return of one man. But those fans forgot all about CM Punk when Chris Jericho turned up and pulled off his Penta mask. Returning to violently avenge his January 4th Wrestle Kingdom loss against Kenny Omega earlier that year, Jericho mirrored his sneak attack on Tetsuya Naito on January 5th by giving the Best Bout Machine a surprise battering on a night designed to celebrate the spirit and success of the IWGP Heavyweight Champion and his best friends. Having just endured a war against Penta, Omega was exhausted and couldn't do much about the WWE star making his first United States appearance outside of the organisation for nearly 20 years. The heft certainly wasn't lost on the crowd either, as they soaked up the moment, including eventual AEW owner Tony Khan. Wisely spotting the crossover star potential that Chris Jericho brought to the proceedings, he presented the pair as the company's first pay-per-view main event and the Painmaker as his first champion. Number 7, The Big Show, CM Punk. Now after a time when CM Punk was actually under the mask. The Straight Edge Society was one of the best things about WWE television despite a relatively short run, but it spoke to how effective a talent-driven idea could be over the typical method of Vince McMahon's micromanagement. The stable only formally existed between November 2009 and September 2010, with CM Punk's bitter leadership eventually compromised after losing a hair versus mask match at Over the Limit to none other than Rey Mysterio. Taking a leaf out of a very old school book indeed, and of course the initiations of both Simon Miller, Andy Murray and Jules Gill when they came to What Culture, CM Punk used the hood to try and protect his modesty despite forcing all of his followers to be ceremonially shaved bald upon joining the group. It was all very cute heel stuff, and that probably warranted a more satisfying conclusion than The Big Show rather easily, and let me tell you, it was really fucking easy, bulldozing through all of the Straight Edge Society and getting the pop for revealing CM Punk's look to the world. When he left the company, CM Punk's infamous interview with Colt Cabana highlighted how he was just basically getting away with playing a faux Jesus for as long as he could. And to be honest, this grand payoff looked very much like somebody getting rumbled for getting one over on the boss. Number 6, Matt Jackson, El Penta 0M. Now let's go from the ridiculous to the sublime, and we're off to the company CM Punk eventually decided to pass on. Not that we all didn't speculate that the Chicago-based All Out 2019 wouldn't be the place he'd debut, but much like AEW as it turns out, this isn't about the voice of the voiceless, it's about the voices of 10,000 other Chicagoans losing their minds during the chaotic Escalera de la Muerte AAA tag team match between the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers. The quartet, and the nature of the match, promised insanity and delivered more than that to a jaw-dropping degree, but one of the most shocking moments of the war didn't come from a bump, but from an act of unfiltered disrespect. Having matched each other move for move, Matt Jackson and Penta were on the exact same rung of the ladder, with the belts hanging precariously above. It was in this moment that Jackson found a bit of his inner house and ripped his opponent's mask clean off his head. Penta had no choice but to tumble off and out of view, but it still wasn't enough. Matt was only left with the shame of his actions rather than the gold when the gripping clash concluded. Number 5, Kevin Nash, Rey Mysterio. Well, it's been a few entries now, let's talk about Rey Mysterio again, shall we? Because we're back to the torture of poor old Rey, but this time with the possibility of permanent ramifications. The size discrepancy between Kevin Nash and the littlest big man had been long established thanks to the famous scene that found Big Sexy launch Mysterio like a lawn dart into a production truck. The moment was allegedly powerful enough for locals to call the police, but few were as invested when Nash committed a far greater atrocity at Super Brawl 9. After defeating Mysterio and Conan in a hair versus tag match alongside Scott Hall, Nash appeared the next night on Nitro, mocking the Lucha legend by offering him the mask back because it didn't fit. But unfortunately, triggering Rey with such annoying heel move would cost Nash big time. Mysterio became the giant killer after beating Big Sexy in the impromptu match that followed. Now, it didn't go all the way to fixing the decision to remove it in the first place, but a collector's item job by the Wolfpack gaffer was just about the best possible make-good the company could do at the time. Number 4, Darby Allin, John Moxley. Now, alright, this one's a little bit of a stretch, but come on, that's a great picture. Of course we were going to include it. Darby Allin stole a face rather than a mask here, and he got the shit kicked out of him by John Moxley in a powerful and evocative AEW World Championship clash as a result. The Dynamite main event saw the young star refuse to stay down against the established veteran, drawing further on both their tacit kinship as the roster's loners and Allen's predicted reign with that title in the years to come. The Master and the Apprentice vibe between them had already existed in competitive tag matches, but Darby found a different way to show both respect and defiance towards the champion as he entered for the biggest match of his career. Ever out there to be a bit different and keen to use the trait as a way to mentally and physically unpick his opponents, Allen would wear a full cutout of Mox's face over his own face. A multifaceted blow, it was as disrespectful to sport the man's own grin as it was to dare him to knock it clean off with an open flurry of fists. But of course, Darby Allin is a different breed, and this was a different and almost successful strategy. Number 3, Kane Rey Mysterio. Yes, that's right, it's another one with Rey Mysterio. It's almost like WWE have only got so many wrestlers who wear a mask. But then again, there are others, of course, who've worn a mask in WWE, and one of those people is Kane. Now, it's a bit of a strange one, this, but the Big Red Machine had carried a mask around in a little bag for absolutely ages, with most people assuming it must be his own and must be some sort of dark callback to his old character. Kane putting the mask back on was a favourite amongst his biggest followers for a long time, bringing to question what exactly it was they liked about the unmasked version. Is he alive or is he dead? He'd asked to nobody in particular, teasing further that a return to his old form was incoming. It turned out that Kane had beaten Mysterio so bad that he'd claimed it as a trophy. This wasn't a scrap we'd seen or even been given any motivation for, and when the biggest little man returned weeks later, well, there wasn't a mark on him, actually. Weird, fucking weird, this one. But I tell you what, Kane's fanatics got about a month out of wishing the past back to life, so, you know, maybe it was a good thing. Number 2, Undertaker. Kane. Were The Undertaker and Kane just mindful enough that their SummerSlam 2000 match was bound to absolutely stink, or did the company genuinely have considerations about removing the Big Red Machine's mask 3 years before they made the full commitment? It's perhaps something WWE should have asked the dead man himself when he sat down for the long-awaited network documentary. I mean, we'd still be waiting for the answer now amidst a string of you-knows and, you know, little bits of rambling here and there, but somebody should have asked him who the hell booked that shit. One of the only dudes on an otherwise excellent card, the match never got going for real because the American badass was just so desperate to get that face revealed so everybody else could see what he set fire to when they were kids. Or didn't set fire to because they were mental scars, or I don't know, whatever. Who cares at this point? After just over 7 minutes, he managed it, resulting in his siblings scarpering for the back and The Undertaker himself holding the mask up as if it was a prize. I suppose it kind of spoke to The Undertaker's confidence at the time that he actually assumed this match deserved any prizes of any nature, but hey, what are you going to do? And number 1, with a bullet, XPac, Kane. I mean, look at this absolute piece of shit. It's garbage, this. Just look at it. You can see why people were pissed off, can't you? Now, the term XPac Heat was a grossly unfair tag that stuck due to the breakneck pace of the Attitude Era, passing him by sometime early in 2000. But sometimes the truly exceptional Sean Waltman knew just how to generate and keep it all the same. By 2002, he was as busted a flush as the stable he wore the initials of for the second time in his career. The New World Order were back and in worse form than ever, thanks to an unravelling Scott Hall, perpetually injured Kevin Nash, and already baby-faced Hulk Hogan. XPac and The Big Show were drafted in as logical members based on their past affiliation with the group, with Kane booked as a big target because, literally, he was a big target. Positioned as a babyface to try and help the heels get any sort of heat back after their initial split, the Big Red Machine at least had history with the little turd that had taken his mask and mocked him as a result. I mean, I'll be honest, it didn't make anything about the angle any more enjoyable, dark amusing visuals aside, but that was just life in WWE at the time because the wheels back then fell off just about everything. So there you have it, those are 10 wrestlers that stole other wrestlers' masks. Riveting stuff. I know you're excited to tell all your friends about it, but let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and share. Hit the old subscribe button if you haven't already. You can find the original article for this at whatculture.com/WWE. That's written by Michael Hamflet. It's a bloody good read. You can follow What Culture on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. You can follow me on Twitter if that is indeed your thing at It's Adam Nicholas. Or if you just want some more videos that may or may not be about masks, you can find some at the end of this one. I've been Adam Nicholas. This has been What Culture Wrestling, and we'll see you next time.